Hi everyone, I am Giuseppe Fratoni and I'm delighted to be joined today by Ryan Hanley for a conversation about content marketing. Ryan is the founder of RyanHanley.com and the president of Hanley Media Lab, a content marketing agency that helps companies grow their audience and win the battle for attention online. He's the host of the Content Warfare podcast, an amazing show with an incredible number of 5-star ratings on iTunes, and also the host of the Content Warfare TV on Google Hangouts. Ryan is also a speaker and is about to publish his first book entitled Content Warfare: How to Find Your Audience, Tell Your Story, and Win the Battle for Attention Online. So Ryan, welcome to the show and thank you very much for being here. I'm honored to have you.
Debbie, it's great to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation, and just from our little chat before we went live, I know it's going to be a good show. So I'm ready to do this.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, can you tell us a bit more about you, your story, and how you get started with content marketing?
Yeah, so I'll go back a little ways and quickly get to the present time here. I come from the school of corporate life, right? I grew up with that mindset of you have to get into the corporate world, big organizations. It's the only way to really be successful. And I did that. I went to a top 30 school, the University of Rochester here in the States, and I got a job with a company called RSM McGladrey right out of college, did the accounting world thing for 5 years as a consultant there, and it wasn't bad work. There was nothing wrong with the company. I just wasn't happy. And I said, okay, maybe it's accounting, so I'll try something else. Maybe it was the accounting that I didn't like. So I went and tried finance for American Express in downtown Manhattan. So I'm, one of the biggest, kind of baddest cities in the world. You figure if you're doing finance for a Fortune 500 company like American Express in New York City, like you got to be happy, right? And it just wasn't. There was something about the working for a big company that didn't suit me at the time. I'm not saying I could never do that again. And again, there was nothing wrong with American Express. It was just I felt I didn't feel comfortable in that space. And I was lucky enough, my then girlfriend, now wife, her father owned an independent insurance agency in upstate New York. And for those in your audience that aren't familiar, this is 2.5 hours north of New York City, straight into the woods. So you're going from the concrete jungle to the Adirondack Mountains. Couldn't be two different places. So I went from working for a company with 50,000 people to a company with 15 people. And for some reason, it just seemed to work. And I felt like I owned my life a little more. But I still was struggling to really kind of get hold of this job. I was selling insurance. So homeowners insurance, auto insurance, that kind of stuff. And at the time, I was 25, 26 years old. You're going against more experienced competitors, people in their 40s and 50s and 60s who've been doing insurance for 30 years. And it just made sense. People that I would approach chose my competitors over me, because why would you do business with a 26-year-old when you can do business with someone who's been in business for 30 years? Okay. I happened upon LinkedIn. I was looking for other ways to kind of get my message out there. I just felt like I wasn't connecting. And I one day was at a networking event and heard a mortgage broker say to a real estate agent, let's connect on LinkedIn. And these are two centers of influence for me. So, for my industry, those were two people I want to have in my circle. And they're connecting on LinkedIn, this thing I'd never even heard of at the time. And I said to myself, this little light bulb went off over my head. There are conversations happening online that I'm not a part of. And that was really where it all started. I went on LinkedIn. I got immediately was like enthralled by the fact that I could connect with people in this space quickly, and we could make deep connections through messages. And I realized at that moment, the people who get the most attention online are the people creating the content, not the people curating it, not the people just commenting or following someone, but the actual creators are the ones that win online. And I've been sold on content marketing ever since.
Okay. And listen, I imagine that you get asked this question all the time, but what is content marketing and what's the goal of content marketing?
So the goal of content marketing is that there's a ton of different definitions. Some people would say it's free media to kind of capture new buyers. Here's really broken down in a nutshell the way I look at it. Content marketing is building an audience. That's what you're doing. You're creating pieces of content in the form of images, videos, blog posts, and offline stuff too. You can do a hard magazines are content marketing, books are content marketing, radio messages are content. This is all content marketing. And the overall goal of all these pieces is to build an audience. Because in today's marketplace, 30 years ago, this wasn't the case. 30 years ago, the only way that you got your messages was to turn on the TV and you had 3 to 7 channels, say, and you saw the commercials, or you read the newspaper, or you listened to the radio. That was it. And that's not the case anymore. There are infinite options. So advertising has less impact because there's so many options available to people that they can just click past your advertisements onto another thing. So creating high quality content has the goal of building an audience. And then from that audience, the next step is to what I call activate that audience, which is when you extract the revenue from them. And I don't mean that in a extract the revenue feels like impersonal. That's not the way that I necessarily mean it. I just mean once you have a group of individuals who believe in you, who like you and know you, then you can say, I have this thing that I would like you to buy if you have this problem, and those people out of your audience will buy it. Random people do not buy things from random companies anymore, which is one of the reasons that advertising, really the whole concept of advertising has changed. It used to be, you see my advertisement, I want you to come right into my store and buy the thing. Now, the way you see these commercials, you watch an Apple commercial, they're not telling you to buy the iPad. They're telling you a story about the iPad. They're connecting you to this iPad, and you become part of their audience, and you almost wait for their next commercial. And then when you need an iPad, I'm not even going to look at the Samsung or what Android has. I'm going to buy the iPad because I'm part of that Apple audience.
Okay, and this storytelling thing is very interesting because you have this idea that businesses should connect with their audience through their story. And yeah. Can you explain this a bit further?
Yeah, so when I say story, people think of like the great classics, right? They go to like fictional stories and they say, I started my contracting business, or I started my bakery to be a baker or a contractor, not to be a writer or a storyteller. I mean, that's storytelling in the content marketing sense is a little different. All right, it's really 3 concentric circles. It's your company, it's your clients, and it's your community. And it's sharing small pieces of content over time from each one of those 3 buckets. And in the middle, where the 3 concentric circles kind of cross, that's your story, right? So a good example of this would be, so we'll take my insurance agency just for purposes of the example. Our company. We talk about not the 10 products that we sell. We talk about the fact that, say, we're a family business, which means that you have 4 people in the business who literally have grown up in this thing and believe in it and will be here ongoing. And if you believe in kind of family values and the type of service that comes on, okay, it's our company. Who are our clients? Our clients are that really like local, and we highlight them. Our community is we're supporting the local 5K for juvenile diabetes, and we're going to be the sponsor for that, and we want to let you know. And where those things cross, so you're sharing little pieces of content from each one of those buckets over and over and over again. And over time, people start to get an image of who you are as a company, and that's your story. Your story is that image that people have in their head, which all these little pieces of content make up. So it's not one big long thing. It's little things over time that create this image for your audience.
And while you're telling your story, you can, of course, I think, inject even private stuff or personal things, and makes you more human, if you will.
So one of the most, we'll use an example from Facebook. One of the most engaged with posts that we ever shared on Facebook as an agency was actually a picture. So like I said, it's a family business. I no longer work there full time. I contract with them occasionally. But when we were working there was 5 of us in there. So I was the son-in-law and then my wife's entire family. So after hours, when the office closed, it became like a clubhouse, right? I mean, we all just would hang out there because there's so many family members there. We would all just, some people would be doing work and just kind of going about their business. So one day, we all have dogs, right? So we put one of the dogs up on top of a filing cabinet, and my wife, her brother, and her sister all pretended like the dog was going to jump. Like they were going to save him if he jumped off the filing cabinet. And I snapped a picture of it and I shared it on Facebook. And said, this is what happens when the lights go off, right? Just kind of making a joke out of the fact that we all hang out at the office after hours. And it went nuts because everyone had heard or seen the dog before in the office. We weren't in our office clothes, so it became a very personal kind of shot. And people said, "Wow, there is more to these people than just the fact they sell insurance. They're human beings who have a good time just like everyone else." And people referenced that Facebook post. This is one Facebook post. They referenced that for months and months. People would come in and be like, "Oh, I saw that Facebook post with the dog." That is invaluable content, because now when someone is out in the world and they hear a friend say, geez, I'm really not happy with my whatever your product is, right? In this case, say it's insurance, but and your client says, I got this family over here, and they're just, they're good people, they've been around for a long time, like you should give them a shot. Because they know that we're human beings. We're not just some big corporate entity. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I mean, Apple has an amazing brand, and they're a huge company. They've put in the work to establish that persona. But on a local level, you can do that so much easier just by injecting these small little pieces of your personality into your content.
And I think that probably when you inject these personal stories, you're building something that nobody can take away from you. Because people can copy your products and can sell the same stuff, but you are unique as a person or as a company. So this is probably an added value to this whole approach.
Yeah. So in the insurance world, there is this process where when someone's commercial insurance renewal is coming up, so you have, say, a bakery, your insurance renewal is coming up on the year, at least in the States, one of your competitors can go to all the insurance carriers and block you out of those markets, right? So they can find out what companies you have and get a quote from them before you do. So this is a very common thing that happens, and it's kind of like the underbelly of the commercial insurance world. And a lot of insurance agents get really mad about that. They're like, "Oh my God, what if they block my markets? How am I going to compete?" And my response to them is, if you're telling your story online, if your companies know, and believe in what you're trying to do as an insurance provider, who cares? Because there's a very easy way. I mean, we don't have to get into technical side of insurance, but there's a very easy way to combat that. That is literally just having someone sign a document. And if they believe in you, they'll sign this document. They don't even think twice. You'll be like, "Hey, this guy's trying to get me, just sign this document," and they do it. But they get so caught up in the business aspect of it that they forget that if someone believes in you, they'll literally listen to everything you have to say because they believe in you. And the only way to get them to believe in you is by telling your story and being a part of their lives and adding value in these additional ways, because anybody can sell a product no matter what it is.
Okay, but this content creation, of course, has a flip side. That is that it takes time and requires commitment and consistency. Do you think that this is a viable option for every business?
I do. I think it's viable. I think you have to find out how it works. So the method that I use is going to be different from the method that you use, which is going to be different from the method that someone else uses. I think a very key aspect to creating content online that a lot of people don't take advantage of is their cell phone, their smartphone, right? You can see I'm a Buffalo Bills fan for those American football fans out there. with this cell phone, I can post to every major social network. I can take HD quality photo and video. There's apps that allow you to edit video, that allow you to edit your images. You know, and with the keyboard, the new kind of sensitive touch keyboards and smart keyboards, you can create relatively long form content. I mean, you're not going to be able to create with the same density you could on a standard keyboard, but you know, relatively dense pieces of content, and share those into social media. Now, your blog is a different monster. I think there's really a couple different options. One is just create a calendar for yourself and schedule a blog time. So just like you would an appointment for your business, say, I'm going to take 2 hours every Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and that's going to be my writing time for that week. And that's what I can budget. I'll get my post done. I'll get it out on Wednesday, and my audience will know that every Wednesday a new post comes out on our blog, and over time that will accumulate, and I'll start to tell that story. Coupled with social media activity, which you can pretty much do everything right from here. Now you have a fairly robust social presence. And the key is not necessarily the volume of content, which is where I think a lot of people get messed up. It's the quality, right? So I could produce crappy lists of our products and post them 30 times a day, and it would mean nothing. Or I can share a picture that I took randomly of our family, pretending like the dog's going to jump off a filing cabinet, and get 3 months worth of attention. So it really comes down to having an understanding of who you are, what you want to be seen as, and then just making sure that you schedule the appropriate amount of time, and think of it just like you would any other sales or marketing activity. It doesn't need to be something you do every single day. I think for most businesses, a relatively active social presence and a minimum of 1 post a week gets you where you need to be, coupled with the other things you have to do in your business.
By the way, I know that you started shooting videos with your iPhone, answering questions to the clients of of the agency that you were working for at the time. And this is I think it's an interesting story if you want to.
Yeah, sure, for sure. So my most successful content marketing campaign to date that I've ever done was something I called 100 Insurance Questions Answered video series. So what I did was, over the course of the month of December of a couple years ago, 2 years ago, say, I asked on Facebook, I asked clients who walked in our office, I emailed people I knew, I asked them as I saw them, and for the entire month, all I did was collect questions. I said, if you could have 1 insurance question answered, what would it be? So very simple question. And they gave all kinds of different stuff. I actually got 147 questions. And just to have a nice clean number, and because some of them were kind of way out of left field, I pared it down to 100 questions. And from January 2nd, for the next 100 days, I answered every single one of those 100 questions in 2 minutes or less on a YouTube video, holding my cell phone up like this. So I just held my cell phone up, talked into the cell phone, not the best quality video, not the best quality audio, but it got the content out there. And I just answered the question. Hello, my name is Ryan Hanley. Today we're going to answer, what is New York State short-term disability? And let's get into it. Blah, 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 blah. Give my answer, package it up. I would just add, on YouTube, you can do, small edits. So I would just add on YouTube a little annotation that gave our phone number and a little box that someone could click that would take them back to our website if they were interested in. And I just did that every single day over day. Now, a lot of people say, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. It was a lot of work prepping, right? So collecting the questions, putting them in an order, and kind of making sure that I was comfortable with my responses to them. That was some work. But the actual creation and distribution of the videos took on average 18 minutes and change a day. I timed it so that I would know. And the ones at the beginning took a little longer, and then as I got better at it, I could do it quicker and quicker and quicker. And 18 minutes a day. Now, over the course of those 100 videos, our weekly website traffic went from about 75 hits a week, so we weren't getting a lot of hits at that time, 75 hits a week, to almost 600 hits a week for a local small business. So now we're talking legitimate traffic. During that time, just those 100 days, so this does not count all the business that we've gotten after those 100 days, but just during those 100 days, we received, we made over $5,000 in revenue just from people who referenced those videos. So it's not even, these are people, so some of the people could have called and just not referenced the videos, but we just were tracking people who referenced the videos, and we made over $5,000 in revenue. So for 18 minutes a day worth of work, I added an additional $5,000 in revenue to our business. So that's on top of what we would have otherwise done, because 18 minutes isn't really taking a lot of time out of my day. So I was still able to do all the other work that I had to do, but I added another $5,000. And to me, that is just the epitome of what you should, of really good content marketing. Now, at the time, I didn't know what this would become, but at the end of it, when I looked back, I just said the best form of content marketing, where every business should start, is answering client questions. It is the most powerful form of content marketing.
Awesome, awesome. An incredible ROI for that job that you put in.
Yeah, I mean, because the actual cost of the project was free, right? I already own the cell phone, and YouTube doesn't cost anything. Of course. Yep. So the actual production of the videos was a zero cost.
And listen, what about the channels that people can use for content marketing? We mentioned YouTube and social media. Does it all start with a blog? Is it necessary, or you can do without it and just go to social media?
Yeah, there's a lot of different thoughts on this. It always comes back to, for me, that you need a home base. That home base can look different for everybody. It doesn't have to be you create every single piece of content on your blog. Okay, there's this concept called digital sharecropping, which was coined by, I'm going to forget the guy's name who coined it, but it's really kind of made famous by Copyblogger, the large content marketing site. And the idea of digital sharecropping is that you should never create original content on a web property that you do not own. That's a bad idea, because the rules can change on that property. You can lose the content. You can lose whatever value you were getting from that spot because you don't own it. That's one theory. I don't necessarily prescribe to that. I think that there are certain platforms where you can create original content that allows you to tap into those platforms' unique audience. Google Plus being one of them. Huge believer in Google Plus. And I don't, I'm not blogging there, but I do occasionally create original content in that space, because posts that you can only find on Google Plus tend to have to reach out into the community a little farther, because people know the only place that you can get it is from this post. So I'm not sharing all my deepest, darkest secrets on that post, but I am giving people a little flair for my personal brand and my style and my opinion, and I use it as a branding effort. And I think a LinkedIn publisher is a good platform for that, the LinkedIn blog posts. Google Plus is a great platform for that. YouTube, obviously, is a great platform for that. I would not do this on Facebook. Facebook's rules change far too often. It's not indexed by Google. So YouTube publisher, Google Plus posts, and YouTube videos are all individually indexed by Google. So that means someone can search, find your Google Plus post, and be taken right there, which is great. It's another person hitting your brand. Facebook posts are not indexed, which means that if you create a really great original post on Facebook, you're only going to attract attention from the people inside of Facebook, which may be great, but I just don't think, I think that LinkedIn, Google Plus, and YouTube have pretty much the same amount of reach and have access, and Google has access to them, so it's just not worth it to me. And Facebook changes the rules far too often. Twitter is great, but I mean, you're only getting 140 characters there. You have to have the home base, though, because ultimately you want to drive people back to that place where you really get to put your content on display. So the rule of thumb that I use for where you should create content is thoughts put out into social media. So I had a thought today about I took about a 3-week break from my podcast for a couple different reasons. And yesterday I published the first one in 3 weeks. So I had a couple thoughts around being away from the podcast for a couple weeks. So I shared that as an original post inside Google Plus because it's a thought. It's not going to change anyone's life. It's not giving anyone a template on how to do something. It's just kind of like 5 or 6 paragraphs on kind of my thought process behind being away. Resources like how to build an audience on Google Plus. That is a resource that I'm going to put on my blog. So that's something that people can come to over and over and over again. They can reference it. They can link to it. I want that on a platform I own. So resources go on your website. Thoughts can go out into social media or these other platforms.
Cool. And what do you think of content curation as a content marketing strategy? I mean, can it be enough, or do you have to create content that's original to some extent?
Yeah, I think that if you only curate, you're never going to be seen as a thought leader, right? If you're only, I think curation is great. I think it's a really important part of your overall content strategy, because when you're curating the right posts, you're building a relationship with the person whose post you're resharing. So you reshare my post, you immediately get my attention because I'm like, wow, this person just did something nice for me. I want to see who they are. Okay. So it's a way of relationship building. It also adds some value to your social media audience. So I do think curation is important, but if it's the only thing that you do, then people are never going to see you as a thought leader, because which is really what you're trying to do. Whatever your niche is, you want people to look at you and say, okay, this guy or girl knows this thing, whatever that thing is for you. And in order to do that, you have to be creating original content.
Great. Just a final tip, Ryan. What would be your best advice for somebody who wants to get started with content marketing? Just a quick tip.
Yeah, I would say start with a WordPress site. Do shared hosting, go inexpensive, but maybe just have a nice professional theme and just start blogging, just start writing. You're going to stink at first. Unless you're professionally trained in journalism, you're going to stink. And that's completely okay, because here's the deal. Some of my most faithful audience members, the people who ride the wave of me being gone from the podcast for 3 weeks, not even blinking at it, right? Those people have been with me since I started this thing 5 years ago. So they saw the posts that were just, misspellings and, just, it was you look at my old posts, they're just not that well written because I wasn't a writer. But over time, I've worked to get better. And if your audience sees that, they're going to give you those early mistakes. So just start doing the work. It's the only way to get better.
Cool. Ryan, the last question is, where can people discover more about you and your work?
The best place to find me online is ryanhanley.com. And if you like social media, I'm a big fan of both Twitter and Google Plus, but Google Plus is where I'm the most active. So if you just find me on Google Plus, we can connect and start to get to know each other.
Okay, Ryan, thank you so much for sharing your ideas and expertise with my audience, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. Great questions, and I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you.